What is up, potty people? I always say potty people, and then it sounds like I'm saying potty people. Party people. What is up, party people? How are we doing? Happy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever the F day you're watching or listening to this episode on. I want to welcome you into this episode with a lot of energy and excitement because holy crap! Bella and I have literally quantum leaped in the past few weeks, and it feels so freaking exciting. I'm going to drop you into a little bit of what's been going on, a little bit of the behind the scenes, and share the details of what it is that we have actually released to the public today, which I am literally bursting with energy to tell you about. Just to start off, we are so grateful for every single one of you guys. Like, we cannot thank you enough for pouring into your soul's path and for listening to this podcast, for attending our events, for really committing to your soul journey. And I say all this because over the past week, we have just been so connected in with our community in a way that feels so incredible. And just to give you some, like a little recap, March 27th, we hosted a free live event, and this was called the Clarity Activation event. And over 500 people signed up for this event, and over 150 people attended live. And it was this insane moment of all of the souls coming together that are on this path of remembering and awakening to reveal the next step that their soul is guiding them to take. And the entire event was the most insane energy. That many people in the Zoom room with this consciousness, this energy, this frequency that they were contributing to the community. It was literally fucking nuts. And after that event, something shifted inside of me where I could feel that there are so many people across this entire country, across the entire globe that are waking up, that are remembering why it is they came here, that are remembering that they have this power within them to create a life of pure freaking magic. And I share all this because I'm thinking back to all the years that I've been on this path and the work that I've been doing and the time I've spent meditating and healing and journaling and attending workshops online and joining group coaching programs. And I'm just looking back at all this work that I have put into tending to my inner world. And I feel like I'm at this point where I've always seen it reflected back to me in my reality with the work that I'm doing and the alignment that I feel and the purpose and the joy that I feel. But now it's just growing like a freaking snowball running down a mountain. And it is so beautiful to have all of the beautiful physical evidence in front of you of how the work freaking pays off. And I'm telling you this because I know sometimes it can feel like you're just doing all this inner work. And then there's almost like sometimes this sacred waiting period of feeling like the reality is rendering to reflect that. And sometimes it's immediate. Sometimes like you do inner work and it reflects it immediately. But I'm just reflecting to you now that it freaking works. The work works. Doing the inner work works because you are literally creating your reality from within your own vessel. And I'm just reflecting back to this clarity activation event, and it was so potent because so many people have discovered that this next chapter of their life is what I'm feeling into with this community and the people that are gathering around these events and really resonating with our voice and you guys listening to this. It is the souls that know that they are done playing small. They are done holding themselves back in a way that they have in the past to stay small, to quote unquote survive. And this false self is beginning to shed at a rapid rate. And when that happens, you connect in so deeply to the soul essence of who you are and the navigation that you feel of go this way, say no to this, walk away from this. It becomes so clear that you literally cannot ignore it. And that is what is happening at such a rapid rate. I'm seeing it all over with the people that are in my world. I'm seeing it with my neighbors. I'm seeing it with friends. People are waking up and they are literally coming alive to this knowing that they can create a life of magic. And it excites the heck out of me to talk about this because now I'm going to share with you guys that today, March 31st, we have officially launched the signature experience that Bella and I have been working on in the back end to the live audience, to everyone. We actually launched it at the live event. We launched it to our Oasis members, but we have officially launched it to our entire audience today. And I don't want to get emotional as I'm talking about this, but like over the past few months, Bella and I have been connecting in with Source. We've been channeling, we've been receiving these messages that there's a massive awakening happening right now. And there are people that are here to lead. There are people that are here to create a life of magic and to stand as the embodiment of what is possible, that are beginning to wake up and remember and be pulled into those higher realities. And we kept receiving these messages that these people need a space. These souls need a home to come home to activate and remember the soul essence of who they are. So we have been tapping into this energy that is the entity of the experience that we've been building, which is the Om portal. Today is the day that we have officially launched the Om portal, which is our 6-month group experience where you reveal and activate your dream life, aka you wake up to your soul essence, you unleash the frequency that is your natural essence, and you come home to yourself and you allow reality to reflect back that frequency. We have put our heads together over the past 2 months and have sat in coherence and received this insane journey that combines every single healing modality, every single point of awareness, every single download, every single piece of wisdom that Bella and I have received over the past few years of coming into alignment with our purpose and with our mission. And we have crafted it into this 6-month journey with all of these different phases, all of these different energetic awakenings, so that the soul who is ready to commit to their path has a place to activate that commitment and has a place to reveal who it is they are, what they came here to do, and how they can make that happen. And we are so excited to continue to share about this and to invite people in. We already have people signing up from this, from the live event that we hosted and our Oasis members. We have members rolling in, and we also have something really freaking excited that is an additional add-on to this, which is the in-person retreat in Sedona. We have officially launched an in-person retreat in freaking Sedona. I don't know how many times I can say this, but this is like all of the things that we have ever wanted to do put into one. And it is the experience of the awakening. It's the 6-month journey of commitment, coming into community, and it is the in-person experience to tie it all together. And it is freaking nuts. I am literally so excited. And just to give you guys a little summary on this, the portal is built for the people who want to come into that unshakable soul alignment, the embodied power, the self-expression, the clarity on what it is they're here to do, what kind of life they're here to live, and the courage to make it happen. And I want to stress that when you are stepping into this portal, your dream reality is not something that you are here to figure out with your mind. It is something that reveals itself as you align in with the soul essence of who you are. So this 6-month journey is a journey into the depths of your soul where you are activating the individuality of who you are on a soul level. You are deprogramming yourself, clearing out the subconscious limitations, and revealing who it is you are, what you came here to do, and how to actually make that happen. You are going to feel this shift in your internal state that allows you to actually align and render a reality that is reflective of your soul essence. I'm telling you, looking back on my journey, I did not sit there with a pen and paper trying to figure out my path of what I'm going to do. I allowed it to come from within by connecting further and further to the soul essence of who I am. And this is exactly why we have created this program. The program brings you through 6 phases, which is the Om signature method of soul alignment, which I'm not going to go into detail on these 6 phases here because I want to definitely get into the episode. But if you are interested in reading about what the 6 phases are that are included in the Om signature method of soul alignment, definitely check out the link below. It is a freaking journey that takes you on a whole path of literally remembering who the F you truly are. So I'll leave that there. Today's the day. Enrollment is officially open. The doors for the portal are here, and your soul is guiding you to walk the F in. So if you're resonating with what I'm saying, feel into the frequency of this invitation. Click the link below, read all about it, see if this resonates with you, if this is the next chapter of your life, and know that this is specifically built for the souls who want to look back 6 months from now and say, yup, holy crap, I have officially quantum leaped. Because I'm telling you, I'm there right now and it feels freaking nuts. The work is worth it, and life unfolds in a way that is literally pure freaking magic. We are overflowing with joy and just feeling so freaking hyped up to be able to invite you guys into this space finally. It's been so many months, and just really feel into the words here if they resonate with you. Click the link below and check it out. We are so excited to welcome you into the space. The Om portal is open and the initiation has begun. Today, we're going to be talking about how to actually trust in the unfolding of your path and how to really look down at your feet and have this full embodiment of I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. I understand there's this current of life flowing through me. And also, I understand that I'm magnetizing these higher realities, but I just want to be able to look in the mirror and say, hey, you're right where you're meant to be. And I trust the energetic forces that are here guiding me and holding me in this constant unfolding and becoming that we are all in. So, we're going to talk about this from like a few angles. And one of the big concepts that we're going to bring in here is this paradox that exists. There's so many paradoxes that exist in this journey. If you're not catching on, you'll catch on eventually that almost everything is a paradox. And one of the biggest paradoxes that exist in the manifestation world, in this world of expansion and tapping into higher realities, is that we get to learn how to be so fully immersed in the now and to be where our feet are, while also knowing that we are continuously calling in these things that we call higher realities that are just realities and timelines that are reflecting your soul's evolution. It is inevitable that you will always land in higher realities, but the work that we're doing is consciously calling in the reality that is reflective of your soul essence. When you're on this journey, you're awakening to the truth of who you are on a soul level. And when you start to do that, reality is going to start reflecting that back, whether it be in your career path, the people that you're surrounded by, the retreats that you end up on. Like it's a full on reflection of your awakening. And that's a process that is something that could be perceived as like linear, right? Like there's now and then there's the quote unquote future. But also, it's this paradox of knowing that that evolution is actually happening in the now moment always. And the most easeful way we could tap into that expansion is through the portal of the now moment and being so trusting that where we are right now is exactly where we're meant to be. Truly, like look at your surroundings right now, look at every single thing in your experience. This is going to be the moment that you look back on one day and think, yup, literally everything was perfect. I was becoming and evolving in this way. You're going to have this perspective. I promise you. Even just look back now at something in your past where you're like, damn, I like shouldn't have been experiencing that. That's what it felt like in the moment. But now you can look back and say, nope, that was actually fucking perfect. And I was literally exactly where I was meant to be, learning exactly what I was meant to be learning. And now you can take that perspective and actually sink it into your now moment because everything in your current surroundings is actually the perfect representation of what your soul is wanting right now in this moment to evolve and to grow. And that's like a hard pill to swallow because sometimes people will look at the things in their reality and think, oh, this shouldn't be this way. But what if that thing being that way is the exact mirror that your soul is saying, no, look so dead in the eye at this thing so that you can learn more about yourself and maybe the ego and the subconscious. So this is what we're going to dive into today. And I want to pass it back to Bella and just kind of give her the mic and let her share what's coming up for her, because this is something that has been such a foundational part of our journey. And it is a lesson that's continuously being embodied at new levels.
Mm. Yeah, really this core question of how to trust the timing, trust the path. It really has a big piece of it on how we relate to the path and to time, right? So kind of this visual that I was thinking about is there's two different ways that you can relate to time and space, and they are both true. So this is like paradox, right? Of how to dance between the two. And really what is happening is you are identifying when the linear time frame is starting to cause suffering because of the relationship you develop to it or the meaning that you're making out of what's happening in that linear time frame. and then when to remember that the highest truth is really this quantum time and space continuum. And the best way to explain this is to have a visual. So there's a linear time frame that most of us can relate to, and we can even kind of like see it in our minds, right? If you like watch movies, it's like this typical thing where it's like from A to B to C, the character like wakes up and then goes here, and then like they turn a year older, and then like life goes along this line from like beginning of your life to middle to end. So in our minds, we construct this reality where the dream is not in this point on the timeline, but is over here, right? So there's a perceived gap. Now, when that gap starts to cause suffering, is when the perception of there being a gap in the first place is making you think that the lack of that being here right now, the lack of that not being, that the fact that right here and now that thing is not here, lack, means you're either not going to get it, you are behind, you need to hurry up, you need to do more things to get closer to that point on the timeline. So, this is a perception of the gap that is not helpful. A perception of the gap that is helpful is when we think about it like a journey. We think about it like an unfolding. We think about it like an excitement that we get to walk on this cool path and see new sights and experience new things as we go and move through time. Now, when that gap is causing suffering, that is when you want to pull yourself out and start to visualize essentially how like our galaxy of planets works. So think about that there's a sun and there's all these planets orbiting around it. And let's just make up that there's this planet that has moons orbiting and people and opportunities. And those things are orbiting because of frequency and because of a literal gravitational pull. So you also have your own gravitational pull and your own frequency. That is what then creates your whole world, creates your little center planet, you being the center of your universe, and all these other things circulating literally around your planet. On Earth, we would say this is things circling in your aura. And it doesn't actually have to do with time. It has to do with frequency, vibration, the gravitational pull, what we would call magnetism. So when you look at it like that, that aligns with the trust that we would have on a timeline that the tree has outside of how it's going to grow. There's no rushing this tree. It's going to grow. The fruits are going to ripen at the right time, right? And in our minds, there's a date and time, but the tree knows its ultimate truth is it doesn't care about the date and time on the calendar. So when you are feeling this lack of trust in your timing, and this could come up where you either have just like this angst or this perception that the thing you want is out there, or you see examples in your reality through people of someone achieving something or someone experiencing something that you know deep down your soul also is meant to experience, but the presence of that triggers limitation stories or thinking that, oh, if they're getting it, it means I'm not. It's a zero sum game. Or what am I doing wrong right now because I'm not experiencing it in my right now? That's linear time causing suffering. And that's when you can lift yourself out and see yourself as its own fresh, unique little planet that is going to draw things in and almost like see the moons and the clients and the people and the opportunities and the cars that you want, whatever it is, right? As like these things that are almost like gently floating around in your reality. And that has a lot less to do with time and more to do with trusting the like ebb and flow of this ecosystem, and that the things that you desire or that are floating around will drop in via your gravitational pull whenever they are ready to, like a fruit falling from the tree when it's ripe. So this visual just helped me personally a lot today to explain this and to also really sink deeper into what it means to trust the timing, to trust my path. Right now, I'm seeing, oh, it's not like a zero sum game where there's limited numbers of things. And when I see somebody experiencing a desire that I have, shit, that means something about me that I'm not enough to get it, right? It's like, oh no, I have my own orbit going on. I have so many things orbiting and floating around me. And then the task becomes how we actually sink into that, which is where each day being a full opportunity to be in a frequency of love, to be in a frequency of inspiration, to take action on your authority. But we'll talk more about that. I want to hand it back to Nikki to add anything in there.
Yeah, the visual of the tree is really hitting for me. And what's coming up is our ability to be able to hold the paradox of living in the now while also manifesting higher realities sits on this one belief. It sits on this one thing. And this is like kind of the differentiating factor between someone who can hold that paradox and someone who has a harder time holding the paradox. It's like if a tree was to make meaning out of them not being in full bloom, or maybe they're like a little seedling that's beginning to grow, it's still a tree, right? And like the suffering actually occurs when we're looking at the other tree who's blooming and making that mean that we're less of a tree. So I
Mm,
want you guys to think about like the thing that is at a finish line in your head or some sort of desire or the thing that you're calling in like a higher reality. It is not about I'm going to get there and then I'll finally feel something that I've been trying to feel. Like this is literally the paradox too, where you go a level deeper, that the thing arrives when you realize you've been the tree the whole time.
mm,
And I feel like the biggest embodiment that we get to step into with this is like a full blown reclamation of just like our fullness, our magnetism, our wholeness for literally freaking existing, like for just being. And the universe would look down at someone who's like chasing a dream or attracting something into their reality and be like, bitch, you are literally so whole, so chosen, so complete since the day you were born, and even since before that. And
mm.
it's not the money or being able to like sell this many copies of your book that's going to be the thing that makes you finally be able to take an exhale and say, ah, like I'm complete, I'm whole. Like me receiving this paycheck for selling this many copies of my book actually just completed who I am. This is the illusion, and we're able to actually hold the paradox of having fun in this game when we fully feel into the beingness of who we are in the present moment. And you can still have a vision. You can still want, like, I'm looking at my vision board. I have like my dream car on there. And one day I'm going to be fucking driving that car, and who I am is not going to be different, any different than who
Right.
I am now or who I was sitting in the cubicle working the 9 to 5 job. That being that I am stayed constant the whole time. And I think what we get to tap into in the now moment is that realization and remembering. And this is what makes healing so accessible too, because when you have like the doubts or the stories come up, it's like those are the portals where your soul is saying, remember this now, remember this now, remember this now. And this is where we get to dance in the creation and in the
Mm.
play because we're living in this infinite realm that is always expanding. Like a tree is always growing until it dies. And we can look at that and say, oh, like it's becoming more of a tree. Or we can look at the seed and be like, no, it literally was coded in the seedling from day one. Nothing
Right.
about that tree changed. It didn't become more of a tree, like how you were saying. I just love this analogy because it just makes us realize how silly it is for our 3D human selves to think that, like, oh, I became a New York Times bestseller and now I'm somehow more complete than I was when I was an infant. Like, it's just
Right.
ridiculous to think that way. And this is actually why so many people will go on like a soul lesson of getting all the money and getting all the success. And then they get there and they're like, what the fuck? I still feel exactly the same. Yeah, maybe it's because you were thinking that at the end you would feel different and it doesn't. I'm telling you, like, I thought when I was like just starting my Instagram account and like growing my Instagram, I was like, oh, like when I hit 10K followers, when like I'm telling you, it doesn't fucking change anything. It literally doesn't change anything. You wake up, you feel exactly the same. So you might as well tap into like the beingness that you are right now instead of like giving yourself a timeline of when you're going to allow yourself to access the feeling of that. So this is what I believe is like just where we get to like teeter back and forth between play and creation when we remember that like I'm literally staring at like a perfect radiant soul and you're staring at me who's a perfect radiant soul. And like the more we reflect that back to each other and remember that, the more we get to play in a world of being radiant, magnetic, infinite souls. And that's
Yes.
my TED
And
talk. I'm going to step off my soapbox now.
it's perfect. And what you just brought up now is seeing how we're getting, again, more paradoxes and also more like nuance on what is actually quote unquote changing. So, like with the tree analogy, it starts as a seed and then it becomes this full grown, what we would call the full tree. So there is a truth here that something is changing. It's the form that the being is taking on. And this is what makes the journey in the linear timeline very fun as human beings, is because when you're sitting in that car and you tick the thing off of the vision board, when you're approaching it with this consciousness, suddenly it becomes a story and a joy of recounting what it quote unquote took to get there. And what that is your pure whole soul there the whole time, then just got to take on different forms through the process. So it's true for me to say I'm not the same person that I was 2 years ago before we started this podcast. What is true at the same time is that my core soul, the essence of Bella Solana and this soul that chose me, that is really inextricable and this inseparable in this incarnation, she was always there. But what's fun is that my form, because of the frequency, played in different arenas. So now,
Mhm.
when you're taking action and when you are going down the quote unquote linear timeline, it becomes play, it becomes fun. Because again, why does the universe bother creating 3D things? Because it wants to put things into form from what original thing? Frequency. The frequency was always there. The frequency is coded into the physical form. But yes, there's a quote unquote difference between the seed and the tree. But that's the fun part. It takes on different forms because we get to play in this 3D world. The core thing that never changed was the essence, the wholeness, the perfection, the divinity. But absolutely, you get to be excited about the form that your being will get to take on and will get to experience on your path of the vision. That's also why we have visions. That's why we have things that we want to achieve or these beautiful ambitions, is because they are inherently spiritual and that they let the frequency play in different forms. And then you absolutely get to enjoy the shifts that happen, but you've already remembered the wholeness. So all the fun physical things, the car and the money and the book sales, fall into the proper place of being more an enjoyment, an enjoying of this 3D reality.
Yeah, it's like the expansion journey is the fun part. And I think
Yeah.
that's why the work that we do is so next level life changing, because it's like we're pointing a flashlight on what actually matters. It is
Right.
the inner awakening that you are going through, where the 3D things popping up in your reality are a reflection of that. And this is why we always talk about like be, do, have, like focus on the being, focus on the energy, do the thing, take the aligned actions, and the thing is going to naturally render into your reality. It's only inevitable, right? So we can let go of that grip and know that the fun is actually in, I'm going to say the word becoming, but I'm meaning like the 3D self is becoming. The soul doesn't
Yeah.
need to
The
become anything.
form
It
that you're
literally is.
taking on through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if I always use the example of like someone coming into this world as, let's like bring up Westworld again. They choose their avatar. Oh, this is going to be so fun. Okay, boom, press the button. Let me forget my inherent wholeness and eternal safety and abundance and power to create. Let me forget that and go play in this 3D realm where I'm going to think that I need to like move matter physically and do all this stuff in this way. And when you're down here, it's like it's fun to continuously unravel and remember your true essence. Like that is what is fun. Like it is so
Yeah.
cool to look at the things that you have manifested in your life and to be like, damn, this freaking becoming journey has brought me to a place of being able to live in a reality that is reflective of this frequency that I've tapped into from within. And I'll use us as an example. Like we have been on a fucking journey of like fast track growing, fast track evolution. Like we're going to do a whole episode on sacred relationships and sacred friendships because Bella and I definitely have a lot to share on this. But when you are on a journey of like fast track evolution, there is just insane shifts that you will experience in your life. And this is why we stand so strongly behind what we talk about, what we teach about, and what we embody. Because when you are consciously approaching life from this fun, playful way, like think about where we were 2 years ago. And now it's like we decided to create a community that we would be so immersed in, where we would know people on like a first name basis and be able to like see them one day and hug them and feel like we've known them for years. Like this is a reality that we literally created for ourselves. It's not like, oh, we were waiting for that moment to feel peace and happiness. We were
Right.
starting to unlock our voices and tap into like this magnetism of just unleashing ourselves authentically and being in that energy. And like, look what we have created in our life. Like, I'm not saying this to boast, I'm saying this as an example to be an expander of like what happens when you just focus on the shit that matters. Reality
Mhm.
takes care of itself. Like you are held, you are taken care of. And I think the trust comes in when you can see that you are always at the exact perfect frequency that you're meant to be in for that moment. And
Right.
reality is holding itself in a way that your nervous system can handle, that your subconscious beliefs are supporting. Like if you think about those as the legs of the table and reality is the tabletop, it's like your subconscious perceptions are holding those perfectly and it's perfect. Like it
Yeah.
is kind of arrogant to think that the universe makes mistakes, right?
Yeah. Again, this is such a perfect example of the paradox because when we set out to start this podcast and to work together, we had clarity on the fact that the few steps in front of us excited us. We barely knew each other, but we were like, something about this friendship feels good. My gut's excited. We're feeling good. Should we start a podcast? Great. What are we calling it? This. Okay, cool. It was like very much one step at a time. And those steps were happening in the present moment through the trust of the intuitive guidance we were getting, the curiosities that we had, etc. Now, what we did at the same time was we were very much trusting and surrendered to the bigger picture and the bigger force that was at play. And so this is where it was like, yes, very much acknowledging that there was the piece of it that feels like the linear timeline, but also the knowing that we're at the same time in that quantum soup of all these potentials and we're getting information from those in the now moment because they all actually exist right now. And then you go and you take a step one at a time, but it's literally that dance. And this whole time we've always said to each other, like, it feels, you just feel so divinely supported to a degree that is like you start to like you like have that like laughing Buddha laugh of like like life is crazy. Like you normalize the feeling of magic and miracles and synchronicities and like the universe winking at you because you've surrendered the bigger picture, you've surrendered the exact thing. You say, you take your worry, you say, I'm going to let universe worry about that because I'm just meant to go down here and play. Okay, I got this clarity to go act on this. Great. But you feel so much more joyful and you enjoy and you remember your wholeness and the fact that you're not proving anything to anyone. Like, yes, there's moments that come up, right? Because that's also, like you're saying, the perfect rendered reality according to the beliefs you have now. Like, it all gets to dance in this one large experience of surrendering the bigger picture, but being in control and a conscious participant of what you are doing within that picture. And Nikki, I know you're mentioning to me before how what kind of you perceive the surrendered state to be like, and I would love for you to share more about that so I feel like people will have some aha moments about what that paradox looks like.
Yeah. So hopefully by now you guys are feeling into this idea. Honestly, it's not just an idea. This is like a truth that I live by. There's a current carrying you in life. And there is this divine plan at play for your unfolding. And a way that my mentor would describe this is by you're like very zoomed into a tapestry and then you zoom out and you see the whole picture. But in our day to day, we're so in the weeds, we're not able to see like the bigger patterns and the path that we're on. And with this, we get to kind of introduce this concept of surrender and this embodiment, this energy that we get to bring into our life called surrender. And so many people hear that word surrender and the 3D ego comes in and kind of enforces this idea on it of like, oh, just let go and don't do anything in life. Like, let me sit on my couch and just visualize my life away and everything will come to me. That is not what surrender is. And I feel like this is another paradox that we get to hold is the true
Mhm.
meaning of surrender. And I'm looking at all these paradoxes and I'm actually realizing through this episode that there's always like a fundamental belief that sits at the bottom of someone being able to hold a paradox. Being
Mm.
able to hold the paradox that we were just talking about of I'm constantly attracting higher realities, but also I'm where my feet are and the now moment is where it's all happening. The belief system under that is I am inherently worthy and I am always magnetizing things no matter what I'm actually perceiving is my level of magnetism. Like it's happening, whether you see that
Mm.
or not. And it's just this knowing of your inherent worth. For the surrender, I'm feeling into this belief of knowing how safe and held you are. And when we think that we need to like grip and control so that we can have that exhale moment of like, I'm safe, I'm held, it's going to be hard to actually surrender. So I'm kind of just introducing here some of the subconscious stories that could prevent someone from surrendering, the subconscious story that could prevent someone from being in the now and also drawing in the higher realities. So, as I share the true meaning of surrender, I want you to feel into this deep truth that you are so held and you are so supported. And there's this beautiful current underneath you that is always holding you and guiding you. And even in the most challenging times in life, you were there for your highest expansion. And there's always this beautiful divine reason why we are in the places that we are. And I'm not saying this to say, oh, you would deserve to be in that moment of being a victim. That's not what I'm saying. Like, I'm saying that we get to take full responsibility over our evolution and our path. No one deserves to be anywhere. That's not what I'm saying. But it is like, okay, how can I grow from this? How can I learn from this? So, with this true meaning of surrender, I'm going to introduce an analogy and I want you guys to visualize yourself floating down a river and you're on your back and you're floating down the river and it has winding turns and you're able to just kind of let go and let the current take you away. Now, when we are not surrendering, that would be like someone standing up. Let's imagine the river is like you can stand in it, but it's a really strong current. You stand up and then you turn around and you're like standing, trying to like force your way up the river, and the current is like taking you so strongly in the other direction. Or maybe you even let your feet go and you're starting to swim, but you're being taken back. That's the sensation of control and gripping that arises when we're not surrendering into the current of life that is always beneath our feet. And once we learn to surrender by feeling into the safety that is available to us always through our body, through our breath, through our expanded nervous system, we feel into how held we are, how supported we are, how we've never been in a place that we weren't meant to be. You let go, and when you let go, all of a sudden you realize that you're carried. And this is what you're talking about with like that belly laugh of like, holy crap, there's literally a force guiding us at every turn
Mm.
that you and I experience on a daily in our life. You feel this energy underneath you and you're turning and shifting based off of where you see the curves in the river. And I want to point out this part because that is you. That's an action you're taking. The curves in
Mm.
the river, you're seeing like, okay, turn left, put a hand here, turn right, put a hand here. And it's not that you're letting go and the river's just taking you and you're fucking knocking
Right.
into the rocks and all the things. Like there is action involved in the surrender. And I
Right.
think marrying the two of the release while you're understanding that you're the one turning the boat. Now we're in a boat. Okay. Just bear with me. This analogy is fresh on my mind. But if you're in the
This
boat,
is
you're
a
the one
limitless potential
steering.
reality. It's collapsing
Yeah,
into a boat. It's collapsing
yeah.
into a sailboat.
You've turned into the fucking boat. But you get the point. The turning is up to you. And I'll play into this analogy even more by bringing in human design that your authority are the pings that tell you which way to turn.
Mm.
And when you're using the river and the current and you're looking at the turns, that's you understanding, okay, this turn is right here by my side. I see it. That's like you facing reality with the knowing of like what's right in front of me. I'm meant to be right here. Now, tune in. What way am I meant to turn? You listen to your own intuition, not the screaming guy on the side of the river telling you it's like it's you, it's in you. The
Yeah.
trust aspect of is letting go of needing to know the full view of this river. That's God's
Yes.
plan. That's the universe. Like the universe can see the winding river of where you're going, but the trust is knowing that you don't have to see it because the pings you're receiving are from the being that can see it.
Yes.
And this is something
Ugh.
that you and I do really well with trust and surrender is like we listen to those pings because we understand that they're coming from a force that can see the higher river map. Like the universe, your higher self that already is experiencing the end of the river, that turn in the river, you can connect to that being. And that is what your authority is. It's what your intuition is. And it's what allows you to like literally sink back and trust because you know that your highest path is always unraveling from your own intuition and turning. So I'm curious if you're getting other pings around like human design stuff coming through or how you're feeling about this authority, the pings. This is how I see life, and it has given me so much freedom, so much peace. And honestly, that big exhale moment came from me understanding that I'm eternally safe and held, and also trusting that there's a bigger plan at play that you don't actually need to see right now. You just need to
Mhm.
listen to the pings because the pings are coming from a being that can see it.
Oh, so good. I know how, I know what you mean now, what you were saying, how you've used this analogy before, but then we brought in a new element and like, wow, that just hit and it's perfect. It's the perfect way to understand how the paradox actually plays out in real life because it's like you are literally that
Right.
person in the river and this is why like it's also empowering to accept the paradox and almost to like not even fully get how they're supposed to fit together but to just trust that they do and that it feels right. Like that person in
Right.
the river who is so strategically through their inner voice, through the intuition pings that they're getting is like, over here, like they are in flow and they feel that type of doing, acting, creating, playing feels like you're high on life because you are fully synced
Yeah.
up
Because you are.
with that. Because you literally, because you are, yes. And this is where it's like, all of the consciousness work and like maybe on this river that you're going down it's like there are things that are going to come up. The water's going to get kind of tumultuous and you're going to be like, "Oh shit, I can't really hear my intuition right now because I have this thing coming up and there's this guy on the side yelling at me." Like those are like your limiting stories or like the outside
Yeah. Yeah.
voices, like the ex right? And it's like perfect to then think about how all of these things are true and are happening and ultimately they're happening to support you. And the one other thing I would just add with understanding almost like then the role of human design or the question of like, I'm trusting my path, I'm trusting my timing, and I want to honor my soul's path and be who I am. And it's like, this is where you're going to realize that life pulls the things out of you, but you also are a conscious participant in those things, letting those things come out, right? So it's like in the river, when you literally feel in you that you want to go right, and the voice that's in there that's yelling at you, no, don't do that. It's people don't like it over there. Everyone's gonna laugh at you if you go over there. And it's using your consciousness to tune into that and to be like, no, this feels right. This is where I'm meant to go. And you pivot and you go that way. And you'll realize that it's actually a very natural process. You don't have to like do it and try harder to like yes, there's a time when it feels a little bit more clunky, but the clunky part is really just that you're stripping away conditioning and you're like in a area of life that is showing you a lot of the things that are no longer working. But that is all part of the flow anyway, and that all feels better when you know that there's the bigger being that knows what's up and knows how to send you down this river.
Yeah. And I can hear someone being like, what if I make the wrong turn? There's literally no such thing because the river fucking renders to wherever you turn. That's like the
Yes,
coolest part of it. And you can really
exactly.
release and let go of the grip when you understand that it's all unfolding perfectly always. And I had another thing come to mind that when we are so attached to trying to see the full map of like A to B, B to C, C to D, like trying to logically figure out how we're going to get to the end of the river, what that does in the moment is it takes you out of the flow where you're connected to your intuition. And this is where you'll see a lot of people up in the thinking mind of like, I need to grip my fist and like try to figure out how I'm going to get to the end of the river when really you already are flowing there. And like trusting in that and seeing that and feeling into that is what allows you to actually listen to the pings from within. And we live in such a logic first society. And I'm not here to shame that. There's such a beautiful place for logic in all of our lives. But I just want you guys to check yourself with where your ego may be trying to steer the ship and the logic, when really it's just an opportunity to even sink deeper into the trust. And it's funny to think about too how when we're fighting the flow, like if there's
Mhm.
something in life that feels like a challenge where we're like, this shouldn't be happening, that's again us turning around and being like, fighting the fucking river. And I can think back to those moments of me in my 9 to 5 job, like dealing with the panic attacks and the anxiety. And like, I look back on those moments, and in that particular time of my life, I was like, fuck, this should not be happening. Like, why
Mm.
am I experiencing this? Got the good grades in school. I did all the things. Like, why is this my reality? And now looking back, I'm like, no, bitch, that was exactly what you needed. Like, that was the wake up call you needed. And I'm using some extremes here because I can hear already some people being like, no, but you don't get it. You don't get it. I'm fighting this river until I die. But just see where you are as the perfect place and let go,
Mm.
let go. Trust is the ability to like have faith in the being that's there, seeing the plan. And surrender is just the actual action of like lifting your feet and floating up.
Mm. So powerful. That was incredible.
All right, fam. That is it for today's episode. Thank you so much for being here. We love you so much, and we are just so grateful for you always. And just another little reminder, if you guys are interested in checking out the OM portal, enrollment has officially opened. We are starting on May 7th, and I'll leave that link below. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for committing to your path. Your soul thanks you, and have an incredible rest of your day. We love you. Bye.